This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for this first edition of CBN NewsWatch for this Tuesday, March 19th. I'm Mark Martin. Today, Vice President Mike Pence visits the flood-devastated Midwest, and a high court decision on whether or not to hear the case of a Christian bed and breakfast's religious right to refuse service to a lesbian couple. Plus, the latest blow for Harvest Bible Church facing scandals involving its former pastor. And the new Brazilian president's first state visit to the United States. Those stories and more on today's NewsWatch. First, Vice President Mike Pence heads to Nebraska today to assess floodwater damage in the state and to offer comfort and help. Heavy winter snows followed by a major late winter storm and rising temperatures brought historic floodwaters and disaster on the state and other parts of the Midwest. It followed last week's bomb cyclone, which is a rapidly intensifying area of low pressure that can bring about a devastating winter storm. By this morning, at least 3 people were dead, including an 80-year-old woman who was trapped inside her home.
They were telling everybody just grab what you can and get out.
Entire towns are cut off from the outside world. Floodwaters destroyed 500 homes in one county alone. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers reports 200 miles of levees have been compromised. Gary Lane is following this story and brings us more. What else can you tell us, Gary? How bad is it over there?
Just devastating, and not just in Nebraska and farmland there and complete neighborhoods wiped out, but also parts of Iowa and Missouri. But Mark, there is some good news. There are some heroes in this. I mean, it's not good news that he perished. He died. One of the 3 people that died was a 50-year-old man in Nebraska, a farmer. His name was James Wilkie, and he was called by rescuers to help someone else who was stranded in the river. He took his tractor out to the bridge collapsed, and he died from that, trying to rescue someone. James Wilkie's being hailed a hero.
Yes, most definitely.
Yes.
Vice President Mike Pence traveling there today. What will he do?
Well, Vice President Pence is there to bring comfort, but also to meet with the governors of Iowa and governor of Nebraska, Ricketts and Reynolds. And what he will do is assess the damage. They will show him what's going on. He'll thank the rescuers and the first responders, but then he'll offer help. Generally, that comes in the way of federal emergency management aid.
The Vice President isn't the only one traveling to Nebraska today. Who else is heading there?
CBN's Operation Blessing. They're heading to Nebraska today to do an assessment. And I found out last night that one of the OB workers had asked someone, one of the government people in Nebraska, look, just how bad is it? Where can we go where it's a worst hit area where we can be most useful? And the person responded, the entire eastern part of the state of Nebraska.
Wow.
All of it.
Wow, we definitely need to pray for the people in Nebraska.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, thanks, Gary. U.S. Supreme Court justices decided they won't take up the case of a Hawaii bed and breakfast owner who denied a room to a lesbian couple in 2007. Phyllis Young owns Aloha Bed and Breakfast and says she was uncomfortable with reserving a room for the couple because of her religious beliefs. A Hawaii court ruled that Young violated the state's anti-discrimination law. Young appealed to the Hawaii Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court. Both courts held to the lower court's ruling ordering her to stop discriminating. Young's attorney said this kind of government coercion should disturb every freedom-loving America, no matter where you stand on marriage. West Virginia's Senator Joe Manchin won't support the Democrats' new Equality Act. Democrats say it would ban discrimination based on sexual orientation, but Manchin thinks the measure should permit more local government decisions. While introducing the bill, Democrat lawmakers talked about making the protection of same-sex individuals a priority over other constitutional freedoms.
We cannot allow claims of religious freedom to be used to discriminate against an LGBT individual.
It makes a difference when any level of government or any corporation says that this sort of discriminatory behavior and action is wrong. It makes a difference. And it provides those of us in our community, the LGBT community, with the tools that we need to fight back.
Religious freedom advocates have already been sounding an alarm on the bill. The House is expected to vote on it later this year. The Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability has suspended Harvest Bible Church after the firing of longtime pastor James McDonald. McDonald led the Chicago area megachurch for more than 30 years, but was fired over character issues, church finances, and highly inappropriate recorded comments made by McDonald. The EFCA suspended the church as of March 14th after a formal investigation. Former members of the church are now demanding their donations be returned. Brazil's new president meets with President Donald Trump today at the White House. Jair Bolsonaro will meet with Mr. Trump for his first overseas bilateral meeting since taking office. The two leaders are expected to discuss a wide range of issues, including trade, the crisis in Venezuela, and steps to strengthen relations between our two countries. Shortly after his Oval Office visit, Bolsonaro will sit down for an exclusive interview with CBN News senior international correspondent George Thomas to discuss the significance of his historic win. And George joins us now from our Washington bureau for a preview of the president's visit. George, what can we expect from these meetings today?
Well, President Bolsonaro will arrive promptly at noon at the White House. From noon to about 1:45, he will have a luncheon with the president, and they will obviously talk about various bilateral issues. They'll talk about trade. They'll talk about the ongoing crisis in Venezuela. They will also talk about how to strengthen these two powerful economic engines in the Western Hemisphere, the sort of north-south axis between Washington, D.C. and Brasilia. The idea that these two countries have more in common and that they need to work closer together. And as you mentioned, we'll talk about this here in a few seconds, but as you mentioned, we will have a chance around 5 o'clock this evening to sit down for an interview with the president at Blair House.
And I understand he admires the president. Talk about that.
He does. He really is. In fact, they call him the Trump of the tropics. Some say he's the Brazilian version of Trump. The sense here is that this is a political figure who came from obscurity. He was not very well known in the country, but he had this sort of outside mentality. He wanted to fight against the leftist mentality, the leftist regime that has dominated Brazilian politics for such a long time. He was against corruption. He was against, the country not producing the kinds of jobs and the desires of the people. And very much like Trump, he's also a master at social media. He feels like the mainstream media in Brazil is against his presidency, is against his agenda, and so he bypasses them, like President Trump, and goes directly to his supporters via social media. So in very much a very sort of he has tremendous admiration for President Trump because he thinks outside the box and he's willing to buck the system, so to speak.
George, talk about the magnitude of Bolsonaro's election there in South America's largest nation.
It's very significant because for over 20 years, Brazil has had a leftist government, and this is the first time in the history of a democratic Brazil that they have elected a conservative leader. You have to keep in mind, when previous administrations won their party's nomination, the first visit they would make was to Cuba or Venezuela, folks in the neighborhood. But here you have the president of Brazil making his first overseas bilateral visit to the United States. He clearly wants to send a signal, not just to Brazil and the greater South America, that he wants closer relations with the United States. And he's hoping that in today's visit and in the visits to come, that the two countries will grow closer together.
What do you know about his faith?
Bolsonaro is a Catholic. He is married to Michelle, who is an evangelical Protestant. She attends a Baptist church. Faith is very, very important to him. We will talk about that in our meeting later this afternoon. But he has said one of the first things he said when he came to office on his first day on the job, he said that his administration would pursue Judeo-Christian principles, and he will do everything possible to protect the institution of the family, which he truly believes is under tremendous assault by the left. He is a pro-life candidate. He supports, like I said, he supports the institution of the marriage, and he's going to fight for that. It's going to be difficult how he's going to counter the leftist agenda, which has been so entrenched in Brazilian society. And that's what we're going to be reporting and talking about later this evening.
And quickly, give us the details of your interview tonight.
We get a chance to sit down one-on-one with President Bolsonaro, just a few steps from the White House. We will be at the Blair residence, which is the residence where foreign dignitaries and heads of state get a chance to stay when they are here in Washington, D.C. And we will have a wrap-up of the entire interview tomorrow on the CBN News channel. Be sure to watch it, not just on the CBN News channel, but across all of our various platforms, including social media.
All right, our senior international correspondent, George Thomas. Thanks, George.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Coming up, taking the fight for the unborn right where the life and death battle is taking place. Now for a look at our top trending stories at cbnnews.com.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I Wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit cbn.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphan's Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Welcome back. As more and more states adopt pro-abortion legislation, the battle to protect the unborn is playing out politically. But as CBN's Charlene Aaron reports, one pastor in Washington state believes this fight is spiritual and has taken it to the streets.
Pastor Ken Peters of Covenant Church in Spokane, Washington, believes the church is the only hope for ending abortion in America.
We got to activate, put legs to our faith. We got to find that balance between being mean and nasty and yelling. We got to find the balance between that and doing nothing.
During a recent interview on the CBN News program Prayer Link, Peters shared how God presented him with that balanced way.
I felt like the Lord said to me right in the middle of a church service, I want your next church campus to be the Planned Parenthood campus. So a few months ago, we planted a church right there at Planned Parenthood.
It's called the Church at Planned Parenthood. One evening each month, Peters and members of his congregation go to the local Planned Parenthood and share a message of God's love and hope.
We're aware of all the rules and doing our best to stay within those. So the police are definitely there. They're watching.
Yeah.
Tell that we're not there to cause trouble. We're there to worship God. We're there to pray. We're there to preach the gospel.
As news of the church has spread, other ministries are joining in.
Last service, we got about 65,000 people viewing in live on my personal Facebook feed. We had over 300 people there outside in the freezing cold, cars driving by. Overall, it's just been unbelievable.
As more states move toward radical abortion measures, Peters says the time for the church to act is now.
We have a Holocaust going on in our own country, and this really brings it to light, and we're confronting it with the Holy Spirit and with worship instead of in the flesh. And this really gets the light of Jesus right out in front of the community, right on one of the busiest intersections in towns.
Meanwhile, he says there is great spiritual significance in making a stand where innocent lives are so easily terminated.
The Bible says that that hell will not prevail against the church. But I think if the church does not engage, then hell has free reign. And so what we're doing is we're taking church right to the gates of hell, knowing that we will win.
Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
God inhabits the praises of his people, and his word does not return void. Well, still ahead, an unexpected place to find a cutting-edge, clean energy source to provide power for your home.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to his children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I Wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Welcome back. 2 leading companies believe manure is much more than fertilizer. Smithfield Foods and Dominion Energy have teamed up to prove that through a manure to energy project. The goal is to turn animal waste into natural gas to power homes and businesses.
While it may sound like a stinky proposition, some of the world's biggest names in hogs and energy say it's far from that. In fact, to Smithfield Foods and Dominion Energy, converting hog manure to natural gas for powering homes and businesses has a sweet smell of success.
We think it's a lot simpler, and we think it will change the face of how manure is handled and turned into energy going forward.
We really made a commitment to looking at new sustainable sources of energy. We do a lot of solar, a lot of wind. And in the last year or so, we discovered renewable natural gas.
So how does it work, turning this waste into energy? Often called biomethane, renewable natural gas is pipeline quality gas that comes from organic matter like hog waste. CBN News went to North Carolina to tour Circle K2 Farms, a Smithfield pilot project.
Manure actually is a positive thing. It creates value and it helps fertilize crops. It helps produce energy. It's not a bad thing. We view manure as an opportunity.
Craig Westerbeek explains how the process moves from the hog buildings to this huge covered lagoon called a digester.
The product, natural gas, is actually a product of a digestion of the solids by bacteria. So for that reason, it's called digestion.
The manure is funneled under this large plastic cover and it's mixed over and over. Bacteria breaks it down, producing what's called biogas, which causes the cover to bubble up. That gas is 65% natural gas.
The biogas produced at farms like this then moves through gathering pipes to facilities like this one. That's when Dominion Energy steps in.
Where we come in, you see this plant back here, we're going to lend our engineering expertise to create a process that's as efficient as possible in creating clean, renewable natural gas that customers can use.
This facility is known as the gas upgrading system. It's here where the natural gas from the farm is refined. When it leaves here, it is 99.1% natural gas. It then enters a pipeline and is funneled to homes and businesses.
Smithfield Foods and Dominion Energy have formed a joint venture known as Aligned Renewable Natural Gas. Initial stages involve 93 farms built in North Carolina, Utah, and Virginia. Aligned Renewable maintains the first 4 projects will produce enough energy to reliably power about 14,000 homes. This would also reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emissions, equal to removing nearly 120,000 passenger vehicles from the road. Even though Dominion is a proponent of solar and wind energy, Childress acknowledges they're not the most reliable.
The thing about solar and wind, as great as they are, the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. Renewable natural gas is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
The two companies are backing up the talk with dollars, investing at least $250 million over the next 10 years. This project involves partnering with local farmers like Dean Hilton, who's been raising hogs for nearly 15 years. He calls it the wave of the future.
After meeting with Craig on the site, the trial site, we realized that there's a lot of opportunity in the fact that we can actually reduce our manure in our current lagoons, as well as turning the solids, the new solids, into renewable energy.
Westerbeek admits turning manure into renewable natural gas is fairly expensive.
You have an investment in the digester like you see in the background, and then the gathering pipelines to gather the gas from different farms and bring it to a central location. And then one of the more expensive parts of this is actually cleaning the gas from its form as a biogas from this digester into pipeline quality natural gas.
Both he and Childress, along with their bosses, believe it is a worthy investment leading to clean energy plus economic benefits for their companies, rural America, and the general public.
Cutting-edge technology there. Coming up, Christians running for Zion on the streets of the Holy Land.
CBN presents The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I Wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I Wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Thanks for staying with us. Jerusalem just marked its 9th year of its marathon. Runners come from all over the world to run through the streets of the historic and modern Jerusalem. As Julie Stahl reports, this year a special group of Christians came to Run for Zion.
The Run for Zion runners huddled to pray before the race.
Well, good morning. This is perfect running conditions. So as a runner, I don't care where I'm at on the planet. I'm already joyful, just in faith and just that God has provided the perfect day to run. But my goodness, we are in the promised land.
We're bringing our first team of Run for Zion. This is the first time that anyone in the history of the Jerusalem Marathon has promoted this as a Christian experience.
Jonathan Feldstein is founder and president of Run for Zion.
And as an Orthodox Jew, it's just so awesome and humbling for me to be able to provide that experience for people.
He says his organization gives Christians an opportunity to experience Israel beyond what tours offer.
This provides a different prism for people to be able to come and have a unique experience through running with touring on both sides. But we've also built up the opportunity to bless Israel, not just by being here, but by raising money for various nonprofits that we're supporting.
So it's a privilege to be able to move our feet to help the Jewish people.
Pastor Ray Hardy from Belmont, North Carolina, and Elizabeth Wong from Phoenix, Arizona, came to Run for Zion in the full marathon.
Run for Zion is an organization that is designed to help those people that are Jewish, Holocaust survivors, Meir Paim, those people that are homeless, those people that are returning on Aliyah from Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Jews. And so we want to be part of helping to make those things happen.
I came here because it is the 70th anniversary of the modern state of Israel, the first anniversary of the American embassy's move to Jerusalem, and Jonathan is a personal friend. I really believe in the vision of Run for Zion and the integrity and excellence that he walks in.
Dr. Pat Castle is founder and president of the largest pro-life running group in the world. He and his wife Angie came to run the half marathon.
All in Christ, more pro-life, yeah!
I wanted to be right here where Christ walked. I wanted to run in his footsteps.
This will be my 60th half marathon, and here we are in the Holy Land. So as the founder and the president of the largest pro-life team in the world, it is an absolute blessing to represent 10,617 teammates here.
Feldstein says he hopes next year to have as many as 500 Christians who will come to Run for Zion. Julie Stahl, CBN News, the Jerusalem Marathon, Jerusalem.
Beautiful shot there. You can find more on the issues you care about most at cbnnews.com and can watch CBN News programs anytime on our CBN News channel. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here by emailing newswatch@cbn.com or talk to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.